Does the fate of Group of Five conference realignment really all rest in the hands of Texas State? Does Texas State, like Emperor Palpatine, really have unlimited power? Lots of questions going on. Happy to break it all down to you guys. This is the Let's Run podcast. I'd like to welcome you all into the show today. Happy to have you. If you're here, please like and subscribe as I'm trying to work on building this YouTube audience. Still doing my live streams, of course, on Twitter. Happy to talk about conference realignment. Specifically, I cover the Runnin' Rebels and the UNLV football team, but I'm happy to talk about all things West Coast sports, college football, college basketball. It's all here. So please hit the like button and the subscribe button. And leave comments down below your thoughts. If you think that I'm missing the mark on something, I'd love to hear your opinions and talk about this incredibly interesting topic with no clear resolution that's going on right now before us. So the other day I was on Twitter and I noticed, I have been a UNLV fan that has been incredibly upset with the school's decision to stay in the Mountain West Conference instead of joining the Pac-12 conference. But now that it's pretty clear that UNLV is going to take this path, this route, I think it's important to kind of get behind the school. There's no way out of it now, really, unless something crazy happens with mediation, which I'm not expecting right now. So I began to really kind of survey the realm of conference realignment. And all eyes, really for a couple of months now, at least, maybe more than that actually, have been turned to the university at Texas State in San Marcos, Texas, just a little bit south, I believe, of Austin, a little north of San Antonio. Beautiful little town. They've got a cool river going through it. I've had the pleasure of talking to some Texas State people as of late, and really just seems like a classy institution that's really growing. Haven't been FBS that long, but are showing real signs of improvement and real signs of investment. And because of the crazy legal situation between the Mountain West and the Pac-12, seemingly shutting the door on any Mountain West schools who are still in the Mountain West, think UNLV, San Jose, Air Force, New Mexico, etc. Those schools do not look like they are legitimate options for the Pac-12. And so, what's the Pac-12's move? They're not going to take any more Mountain West schools. They look to the AAC. Both Tulane, Memphis, every school in the AAC has a reaffirming commitment to the AAC that they publicly announced. Additionally, while the Pac-12 maybe could add AAC schools later down the line in the 27-28 season, because of a time period that was passed, I think it was May 1st or something, the exit fees for AAC schools, if they want to join the 2026 Pac-12, are all the way up to $28 million. You could negotiate that down a little bit, like SMU did when they negotiated it down to $25 million when they joined the ACC. But, exit fee situations, geography issues, the AAC schools have a pretty good media deal in place in that conference. None of the AAC schools look like they're viable options. So what's left? Well, there is Conference USA schools. The Mountain West got the best Conference USA school just in terms of geography. When they took UTEP into the Mountain West Conference, a school that probably geographically, history-wise, kind of always did belong in the Mountain West, that had just kind of gotten left behind. A school that's been in a rough place for a lot of years athletically, but, I like their coach right now, and I think they have some potential, even if that potential is unrealized as of yet. So the Conference USA teams, I guess you could go after, I believe Louisiana Tech is in Conference USA. Conference USA teams are really going to struggle making the jump from Conference USA to the Pac-12. That would be a very difficult school for those conferences to compete in. Geographically, Louisiana Tech, not close. I believe it's in Lafayette it's in Ruston, Louisiana. So Louisiana Tech is in Conference USA. So that kind of leaves the Sun Belt schools. And that's where we get to Texas State. So I'm going to talk about the other Sun Belt schools before I jump into Texas State, because I want to bring them up because I don't feel like a lot of people have talked about the other schools in the Sun Belt when in terms of conference realignment for the Pac-12 and maybe why they don't make as much sense. So the Sun Belt is comprised of schools like, I want to make sure that I don't miss any here. So the Sun Belt's pretty big. It's got like 15 universities or something like that. It's the conference that James Madison is in. Obviously, James Madison's a long way, Georgia Southern. This is kind of their Eastern Division, Marshall, Old Dominion, Coastal Carolina. Those schools are really far east. None of them would be expected to be prime Pac-12 expansion candidates, just because the Pac-12 is a G5 conference, is better off kind of remaining regional just in terms of the cost. Power 5 conferences, schools like Stanford, Cal, it's a huge strain on them to have to travel cross country repeatedly. But they are getting a much higher media payout than the schools in a conference like the Sun Belt will, or even a conference like the Pac-12 will. So it's more justifiable for them. There are schools like Arkansas State, University of Louisiana, which is one of the ones that we'll talk about, University of Louisiana Monroe. A lot of these schools, when I looked into their financial positioning, outside of maybe the University of Louisiana, the one that's in Lafayette, I just didn't see a ton of a lot of money behind them. Sorry, my mistake. Yeah, the University of Louisiana Monroe is the school that I didn't really see just financially how it would be feasible for them to join the Pac-12. The school that I did see that hasn't been talked about a ton is the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. It's got 20,000 students, a $232 million endowment. It's possible, again, their name has not been brought up at all in terms of conference realignment to the Pac-12. And so maybe if they're kind of the long shot school, you could see a chance that they would join the Pac-12. A lot of these schools maybe could join the Pac-12 if it was only football, or if it was football and basketball, the money sports only. But the big issue for the Pac-12 is they can't just get a football team. They need to get an all sports school to join them. And when you have all sports schools, the non-money making sports, your softball, your track, cross country, baseball, swimming, those types of sports, Olympic sports too. Those sports don't make money. Their money drains on the school. Now they're important to keep around to give students scholarship opportunities, but ultimately, the Pac-12 cannot add a football or basketball only member. And I think that the geography of these schools and perhaps a little bit of their financial position just makes it really difficult for any of these schools to join the Pac-12 as full members. The only school that seems feasible is the school that we're talking about today, Texas State University, a school with 40,000 students actively enrolled, $410 million endowment, only been in the FBS since 2013. Didn't start out great in the FBS, but have really shown signs of life recently. And because of their geographic position in the state of Texas, because the AAC and the Mountain West schools really do look like they're off the table, the Pac-12 is essentially at Texas State for a full member or bust. The only other option for the Pac-12 would be a school like New Mexico State. And the Pac-12 will do literally anything and everything to avoid adding New Mexico State, simply because New Mexico State and UTEP are pretty close to each other. New Mexico State does not have a great football program, although I feel like sometimes we are a little too dismissive of them. New Mexico State is just not seen as a viable expansion target, or a respectable expansion target, which I kind of feel bad for New Mexico State fans, although some of them can be a little aggressive sometimes. But essentially, the Pac-12 is in a position where it's Texas State or bust. And it seems that the leadership at Texas State does know that. So that prompted me to make this tweet. We're going to put it up on screen so that you guys can see it. This tweet the other day that got a lot of attention, and I wanted to talk about it with you. So I tweeted this out. I said, if I am Texas State, I am asking not only for a full share, but also a travel stipend on top of my full share, maybe an extra $1.5 million for non-money doing sports. Why? I've consistently wondered why Texas State to the PAC has not been announced. And then I listed some thoughts. So what does that mean? Each conference secures a media deal, and then each school within the conference receives a portion of that media deal, a share. When it says you have a full share, that means you have an equal share to all the other schools in your conference. Therefore, a lot of people have said that Texas State, as a team coming from the Sun Belt, as a team that doesn't have a lot of football history, even though they have shown good signs recently, people have said, Texas State doesn't really deserve a full share of the media deal. They don't deserve the exact same amount as Boise State, Washington State, Oregon State, which are really the backbone of this new Pac-12. But because of Texas State's unique position and because of the Pac 12 just really not having any other options, they have an insane amount of leverage right now. So here are some thoughts. These are the thoughts that I kind of came up with. Thought number one is there could be something about mediation that prevents them from making the announcement. Look, as we know right now, the Mountain West and the Pac 12 for 3 weeks now have been in active mediation. That's a pretty decent sized mediation. The longer it goes, um, it's generally a pretty good sign when mediation doesn't end abruptly. It means the parties really are trying to work out something. However, I do believe that the Pac-12 and the Mountain West are both in positions where they're kind of forced to work it out. And so perhaps there are terrible terms that the parties can't agree with, but they don't really have an option but to try and find a way to make it work. So the announcement of Texas State to the Pac-12 could simply be a condition of the mediation that just prevents the announcement from being made official as of right now. It could already be done behind scenes. The other option could be that Texas State hasn't really verbally or even suggested that it will agree to the Pac-12's offer to join. You're going to see people like John Cansano and Pac-12 reporters say, "Well, Texas State hasn't received an official offer to join the Pac-12." Whenever you see language like that, I'm sorry, it's just PR crap. Texas State has received an offer to join the Pac-12. So is Texas State looking at its position and saying, no, you're not going to underpay us. You're going to give us a full share. In fact, because we are so much farther west than all your other schools, you're going to give us a travel stipend. Now, what does a travel stipend mean? It means because of Texas State's unique geography disadvantage, they can get extra money on top of their normal media share from the conference to pay for non-money making sports to be able to travel to school, to be able to travel to the other schools in the conference. It would be very difficult for a softball team to take a commercial flight to Corvallis or to Pullman, where Washington State is. These places aren't crazy easy to get to. I think Corvallis is quite a bit easier to get to than Pullman, although both do have airports, by the way. But even Boise, it's not a huge airport. You don't get plane flights from all over the country. Are they having to take connecting flights when they're flying commercial? They're having to fly into Denver. That's a huge strain on the student athlete, and that's a huge strain financially on the school. Is Texas State saying, hey, not only do we want a full share, we're at a disadvantage from the rest of the conference. And you may not like these terms, but what other option do you have? Why would Texas State, I've seen this kind of sentiment. Texas State, is not quite at the elevation of an Oregon State or a Boise State or a Washington State. So why would they be playing hardball? Why wouldn't they just be happy and willing to go to the Pac-12 on a 75% share? Well, the argument could be made, and a lot of this is the same reasoning as to why UNLV stayed in the Mountain West Conference, that maybe Texas State is leveraging their position to get more money from the Sun Belt. They're saying, hey, we're going to leave you guys. We're a big part of your conference, and you guys have to pay us more. The Sun Belt arguably offers, in fact, I would say it pretty much does offer, just as good an opportunity for Texas State to make the college football playoff as the Pac would, and it still offers better geography with less costs. I mean, there's an exit fee for Texas State to leave the Sun Belt. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's $5 million. It's a $5 million exit fee for Texas State to leave the Sun Belt. I mean, that costs a lot. And so, looking at their situation, they're saying, hey, we can win the Sun Belt. We can go 12-0. We have a school that's investing a ton in football right now. The thing is, despite the Pac-12 insinuating that because they are the best group of five conference, they're going to get that fifth bid every single year. The Pac-12 is not an autonomous or a power conference, despite their best efforts to tell you that they're closer to the Big 12 and the ACC than they are to the Mountain West. The Big 12, regardless of whether that's true, the SEC, Big 12, ACC, these conferences are not going to give power back to another conference to become an autonomous five, an autonomous five conference. That is not something that the Pac-12 can earn back. These schools, these conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten especially, have been given more power by the dissolution of the Pac-12. They have the money schools. They have the really big brands. They're not giving it back to you. And so therefore, the fifth automatic qualifier spot for the best group of five team is not the Pac-12 champion. If the Pac-12 beats itself up a little bit, if Boise State kind of has a down year, but manages to win the Pac-12 at 8-4, or people just kind of don't do as great. If Spencer Danielson isn't quite the same coach without Dirk Cutter and Ashton Genty, if Oregon State and Washington State continue kind of being mediocre, a group of 5 school from another conference like the Mountain West, the Sun Belt, the AAC can absolutely get the college football playoff spot instead of the Pac-12 champion. So perhaps Texas State's best opportunity to make the college football playoff, and like I say later, Texas State and every group of 5 school, their goal is the college football playoff. That's the goal. You have to ask yourself, what gives me the best chance to make the college football playoff? Would Texas State going to the Pac-12 and winning the Pac-12 give them the best chance to make the college football playoff? Absolutely, it would. It totally would. But are they going to do that? Maybe not. Are the extra costs of travel and really going to kind of make the school's life a living hell and make it really expensive for the school to compete? Yeah, it might. And so, the Pac-12 might be a great option for Texas State, but I do not blame Texas State for kind of thinking it, are we better off in the Sun Belt trying to win in this conference? The Sun Belt isn't a terrible conference. It's got James Madison. It's got a couple of really solid schools. It's got Louisiana. It's got it's not the worst conference in the world. That's not a great conference. It's not as good as, I don't think it's as good as the Mountain West, the new Mountain West, and it's certainly far worse than the new Pac-12, but it's better than Conference USA probably. And sometimes it might be just as good, if not better than the Mountain West. So does Texas State have a better chance to make the college football playoff in the Pac-12 or the Sun Belt? I think it might be the Sun Belt. The other thing is the Mountain West is still out there. Obviously, Texas State was approached by the Mountain West for membership. The Mountain West, I'm sure, made promises to Texas State financially. Texas State ultimately decided not to pursue a Mountain West membership at the time. Completely reasonable. I think they were evaluating their options. Very smart by them. But if the Mountain West wins a good victory at this mediation settlement, there's $145 million or so, $144 million or so that is in dispute in this mediation. If the Mountain West wins a way higher than expected number of that, they're going to have some money to throw at Texas State and say, hey, we'll give you a travel stipend. We'll give you a full share. We'll help you. We have some schools that are a little closer to you. Obviously, UTEP and Texas State are not close to each other at all. But there's a reason why Texas State was talking to the Mountain West. There was some interest there, and the Mountain West would provide a better chance for Texas State to make the college football playoff in a similar way that the Sun Belt might. Now, obviously, I don't know what's going on in mediation. Nobody really does. And I'm not sure that the mediation result could bind Texas State in any way because they're not a party in the mediation. But Texas State can look at the PAC and say, are you really going to add New Mexico State instead of us? I mean, come on, you need a full member. And again, if the PAC just had an 8th member and could add football only schools, this would be much easier for them to keep leverage. But they need a full member, which is why I think New Mexico State really could be an option if Texas State doesn't get what it wants. And that might be a really tough. Now, even if the Pac-12 added New Mexico State, it's still probably the best G5 conference. I would say it's still definitely the best G5 conference, but it would be major egg on the face of the Pac-12. Another thing is the AAC might be lurking. The AAC knows that schools like Memphis, especially, are prone to be leaving pretty soon at some point in the near future. Memphis is a serious university that probably should be a Power 5 school. If the AAC loses Memphis, or even before the AAC loses Memphis, what if the AAC wants to add Texas State? They have a good media deal, $11 million for the top schools last season. That's good money, and it makes more sense geographically for Texas State with UTSA and North Texas already being a part of that conference. Ultimately, I still think that the Pac-12 is going to be where Texas State University ends up. Absolutely. I have no doubt about that. Well, actually, that's not true. I do have doubt about it. That's kind of why I'm making this video. That's the whole point of this video. But Texas State ultimately has all the power in this negotiation. I feel like we would have seen something from Louisiana or any of the other Sun Belt schools if they were part of Pac-12 expansion plans. We've only seen stuff from Texas State. I don't see the other options for the Pac-12 here. And Texas State having this amount of leverage over a conference that already has Gonzaga as part of the conference, and Gonzaga as a non-football playing members, by all indications, is getting a football share for playing in the new Pac-12. Who knows what representations and promises that Pac-12 leadership has made behind closed doors to schools like Oregon State, Washington State, Boise State. There are exit fees associated with the Pac-12 that wouldn't be associated, I know, with the Mountain West. The Mountain West, for example, provides any school can leave for a Power Four with no exit fee at all. And I'm not saying Texas State is setting itself up for a Power Four bid, but maybe there are people at that university that's important to, that level of flexibility. And so ultimately, the biggest reason why, if I was Texas State, I would be wary of the Pac-12. It's not because it's not the best it's the best Group of 5 conference. It's not because of that. There are good brands in it. Boise State's a great brand. I think Oregon State is a great school and a great brand. I actually really like that university, and I really like Washington State as well. Who I don't like is Teresa Gould and the Pac-12 leadership. They have proven themselves incompetent time and time again. They oversaw the destruction of one of college sports' premier brands in the Pac-12, the original Pac-12. And I don't know, I'd be weary of them. You had, when the original Pac-12 was dying, you had false representations to members about what type of media deal that conference would get. And I just don't know that they're trustworthy, to be honest with you. Now, again, if I was a Texas State fan and I was a Texas State administrator, I would say join the Pac-12, take the risk on yourself. But Texas State absolutely cannot afford to take anything less than what they're worth. Maybe in an open market, Texas State wouldn't be worth as much. But right now, Texas State has all the advantage. And like Emperor Palpatine, Texas State really does have unlimited power. I want to thank you for checking out the video today. Please like and subscribe, like we said at the beginning. Lots of good content coming out. Again, I cover primarily UNLV sports, but if you want to check in about general college football and stuff, that's also going to be a part of this podcast and this show going forward. So thank you so much, and let's run.